Good evening. Thank all of you for being here tonight. Today is October the 18th, 2022. It's approximately 7:02. Thought for today: he who is untrue to his own cause cannot command the respect of others. Albert Einstein. I'm gonna go ahead and officially call this meeting to order tonight. I'm gonna ask if Commissioner Edwards, if you would pray for us tonight, and Commissioner Mason, if you would lead us in our pledge. Vice versa.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to come together and do the work of the county. We ask that your guidance, your wisdom, your discernment, we ask that we all do it in the name of Jesus Christ. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we adopt the agenda, we do have a couple of changes. 9C on the consent agenda. We need to put that, the award letter for the agriculture center for the horse barn that they have donated out, that they named after Mr. Mort Ewing. I think it's a $600,000 grant that's given to the FFA that goes up on the consent agenda 9C. Acceptance grant. 600,000. Yep. Hold on. 16A. 16A is a budget amendment to purchase the building next to fire services headquarters. That's 16A. It's a budget amendment. And in the zoning hearing, case number 6, that should read MOD 2200001. I'm sorry, 2. Should read 2. Now, in zone. Change that from a 1 to a 2. Any questions, guys? Go ahead.
I see you added something in regards to a building purchase. Not saying I'm against it or not. I wish I would have had some information on it before we voting on purchasing a building.
It'll be brought up.
No, I mean, I wish I would have had it before the meeting so I could review, to have a concrete vote so I know what this is all about versus finding out tonight.
Okay. Mr. Henderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. C. And I know I probably should have mentioned it at prayer, but I didn't, and it hit me afterward, and I just couldn't read this.
That's my bad. I do it. My bad. I'm sorry.
But just let me say this. I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, we lost Mr. Buck Smith, Miss Jackie Smith's husband.
Yep.
And they are a very dear friends of mine because we just worked around each other, and our hearts have went out for her and her family. And we ask that everyone who know prayer, please lift her and her family up in this time of bereavement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I completely forgot, so thank you for that reminder. Guys, with those changes, I seek a motion that we approve the agenda, please.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It passed 3-2. Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. This opportunity will allow citizens to make comments about agenda topics only. Agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please come down, state your name and your address for the record, please. Agenda topics only. You may come at this time. Thank you. Next, we have the chairman's report. We have some. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Come on up, sir.
Item number 17.
Come on up to the mic. Please state your name and address for the record, please. You have 3 minutes to do so.
Good evening. My name is Tim T. Brown. I got a question about item 17, dealing with the ARPA, the loss of revenue. And my question is, for the $8,200,000, I think what I heard earlier, the revenue or whatever is left is going to be divided into the other remaining, a nonprofit organization or infrastructure or whatever. The citizens need a copy of who all been approved, what was their loss to get the money that they received. It should be open records, unless we can file for open records. But we're asking the commissioners to give it to the citizen, whether it's on the website, how you get it online, or give the sheet of how each individual was approved, how much money they received, and who else is on the list to get approved. Because the remaining of the funds that you have left to allocate is not fair to the rest of the people who are trying to get and receive the funds. With the 8.7 million going to infrastructure, we need to have a list of all the items or all the areas that's supposed to be on that list to get infrastructure or get help. Not just say this is going to the county manager, but we need to see where directly is every fund is going, and an invoice of what they spend it on, equipment, whatever the allocation of all these people who received it. We need a copy of that too. Not only do the commissioner need it, the citizen needs it too. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the next item on the agenda is definitely the chairman's report. We have the National 4-H Week proclamation that I'll be happy to read when you give me the okay.
Well, let's bring up the 4-H team now. Ms. Charlene and her team, if you would, please come on up. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
So National 4-H Week was actually a couple weeks ago, but we weren't able to come to that commissioner meeting, so we're here for this one, and I appreciate all of the commissioners and everybody in the audience that wore green in support of 4-H, and those of you that thought about it but forgot. So we have had a lot going on since we were at the Board of Commissioners meeting last. I've given each one of you a copy of our some highlights that are going on here in Newton County for 2021, 2022, and then also some to-date highlights for 2022, 2023 year. The 4-H year runs August to July, so it's a little different. But just a couple of things to highlight. We did have a 4-H alumni named as a STEM pillar finalist for a National 4-H Youth in Action program, which is really awesome. He was also highlighted by the Newton Community Magazine. I also forgot to introduce who's with me, so let me go do that real quick. So with me, I have Dr. Lori Bledsoe. She is our Program Development Coordinator. She's housed at our district office. I have Reagan Brunette. She is one of our 5th grade 4-Hers who went to camp with us last year and did a lot with Project Achievement and public speaking, as well as Caden File. She is also, she is a 6th grade 4-Her this year. She also went to camp, did Project Achievement and some other things here in 4-H. And our new 4-H program assistant, Mr. DJ Dobbs, he started in August, so we're super excited to have him on board with us. And then I'm Charlene Scott. I'm the 4-H agent here in Newton County, and I've been here for about 2 years. So we've had lots of growth opportunities here in Newton County. We're in more schools than we've been in several years. We're seeing about 12 schools this year, about 1,000 students across the county. We camped 53 campers this year, with 4th through 6th grade campers. So we all loaded up on the bus and headed out from here and spent a week at Rock Eagle, and these ladies joined us and they had fun, right? Awesome, they're excited to go back this year. Some things that are happening this year, we had 104 participants for our No Carved Pumpkin contest. So if you haven't been by the admin building, there are some outside the tag office, and then we have some more of our pumpkins upstairs in our office. So feel free to come see them, they're really cute. And the kids did a really great job on that. One of our big programs is our Adulting 101, which is teaching youth life skills. So that program has actually been, over the course of this past year, we've done it across the state virtually. We also hosted an in-person STEM on Fire Day where we partnered with Cobb Fire Department, and they hosted 4 different counties to come. And hopefully it's a program I'm going to bring back here to Newton County where our youth can get hands-on STEM training in the fire field so that they can see if that's a career they're interested in. It is being used statewide. We've also presented at 2 national conferences, and we have over 26 states reaching out for us, reaching out for our curriculum. It's a cooperation between Newton, Cobb, Gwinnett, and Rockdale, all 4 of us. So we're excited to be sharing that and winning some national awards for that, regional awards for that.
Thank you so much. We do have a proclamation that we're going to read into the minutes tonight.
So for the National 4-H Week Proclamation, whereas the young people of Georgia and Newton County are our greatest natural resource, and whereas the 4-H program has assisted in the growth and development of Georgia and Newton County youth for 118 years, and whereas the adult volunteer leaders and advisors are devoting their talents, leadership, resources to serving the leaders of tomorrow, and whereas 4-H helps its members discover and acquire the essential elements of positive youth development of mastery, generosity, belonging, and independence in the areas of leadership, civic engagement, healthy living, and agriculture, and STEM. And whereas Newton County is Georgia 4-H and entices young people and adults to become involved in the educational and entertaining programs offered by the 4-H program in Newton County through the University of Georgia College and Agricultural and Environmental Sciences Cooperative Extension. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Commissioners of Newton County, do declare and proclaim the week of October 17th through the 21st to be Newton County 4-H Week, and urge all of our citizens to assist in according this observance the attention and importance to which it is so highly and rightly entitled. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed our seal on this 18th day of October 2022, Chairman Marcelo Baines, Newton County Board of Commissioners.
Y'all give them a hand, please. Commissioner Stewart, please come on up.
that thought.
Can y'all get him another hand, please?
Mr. Chairman, we have one more item for your presentations. Newton County Board of Commissioners supports Operation Greenlight for Veterans. It's a resolution honoring veterans and military personnel. Would you like me to read?
Please.
Supporting Operation Greenlight for Veterans. Whereas the residents of Newton County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all of the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces has been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Newton County seeks to honor these individuals who have paid the high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. Whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, and whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition into civilian life in the near future. And whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, and whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for Veterans. Whereas the Newton County Board of Commissioners appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted, therefore be it resolved with the designation as a green light for veterans in Newton County Board of Commissioners hereby declares from now through Veterans Day, November 11th, 2022, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service. Therefore, be it further resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Newton County Board of Commissioners encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve the freedom by displaying a green light in a window of their place of business or residence. Signed this 18th day by Chairman Marcelo Baines and attested by our County Clerk, Ms. Jackie Smith.
Thank you so much. We will be recognizing and honoring our veterans by lighting up the admin building in green. So we thank them for their service they have made to not only to this country, but our community as well. I'm gonna forego the rest of my chairman's report because we got pushed for time tonight. We do have a long agenda. I'm gonna turn it over to the county manager for his report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll go brief on our report as well. For our operations, we're reporting out for animal service. Intake continues to be extremely high, 27% from 2021. We have requests for service that has increased 23% year to date. We had 91 pet adoptions so far in the month of September. We held a free pet vaccination and microchip clinic on October the 15th. 224 animals were seen at the clinic. 184 microchips were implanted. We also want to send a special thank out to our sponsors, Planned Parenthood, Petco Love, Atlanta Humane Society, and Hallow House for Dogs. Without them, we could not have provided these services to the community. Building services, beginning October 1st, we will light the admin building tower in purple to recognize Domestic Violence Month each evening. This is a yearly event requested by our DA's office. EMA, we are tracking our code red registrations. I'd like to recognize our assistant director in that regard, Ms. Wendy. The numbers are definitely showing an increase. And when I first started here, businesses 297, residences 1333, cell phones 1534, notifications via text 1328, notifications email 448, and weather warnings only 937. Finance, fiscal year 22 budget has been reconciled. We processed 1699 invoices for the month of September, 946 accounts payable checks totaling $7.5 million. We processed 96 purchase orders. We processed 1458 payroll checks totaling $3.1 million, and we deposited 4.5 in revenue. Fire services for the month of September, 34 fires, 334 calls for rescue and EMS, 19 hazardous condition calls. Also for no fire calls, we had 32 service calls. We had 87 good intent calls. We had 55 false alarm calls. We had a total of 563 calls. And I'd like to recognize our fire chief with a 100% response rate. GIS, we had, which is very innovative in our county, we now have what is called a story map that highlights our recent SPLOS projects that's accessible on our website. GIS has been working on several county departments recently, attempting to better integrate our GIS with public works, with our asset management software, as well as animal services. They're also working with NextGen, with our E911. They had 15 map requests. They had 24 individual requests printed or produced, and 7 GIS processed about 37 calls for the department for the month of September. HR, our HR director, great leadership, working collaboratively to begin our 4th quarter employee engagement events. We're going to have a Halloween event, service awards, our flu COVID vaccine clinic, and a holiday luncheon. We onboarded 6 employees across the following departments: planning and zoning, fire service, detention, recreation, and government buildings. We offboarded 8 employees across the following departments: solid waste, magistrate court, elections, water resources, and detention. And we also secured a $4,000 grant from ACCG regarding CPR and AED. Our information services, we reported 247 support tickets for the month of September. That was up from 202 in August, and we deployed new technology throughout our organization. Courts also provided their monthly reports. A juvenile court processed 43 delinquency complaints, and they served 51 walk-ins. Judge Branch had 5 court dates here and 21 dependency cases, and Judge Egger had 8 court hearing 27 cases. For our public defender's office, our assistant public defenders represented clients in 12 court calendar dates, and we had 2 criminal trial weeks scheduled for the month. They also were able to hire a new attorney for the office, which now they're fully staffed. Parks and Recreation kicked off our football team. Go Dogs. We had 85 participants in our fishing derby on September the 24th, and we started our Miracle League in adult softball session. PIO, Brian is doing a great job with our outreach with our social media. Facebook continues to grow, 16,000 followers. Want to recognize this number. We reached 100,000 more people in the last 90 days than the 90 days prior. Great job, Brian. We also want to recognize our resident, Miss Martha Malcolm, celebrating her 106th birthday. She had 11,962 people that reached out, 802 likes. Public Works, we had completed some of our SPLOS projects. We also had trash pickup counts for the month of September, 3,503 bag counts. Tons taken to the landfill, 14.47. And also with the assistance with our sheriff's office, we had 454 additional bags picked up. I'd like to thank Sheriff Brown for his assistance. Senior Services, we had some great things going on for the month of September. 30 great and grand club seniors celebrate Grandparents' Day. We had 50 seniors participate in the monthly shopping trips. Also, this is huge with our Director of Senior Services. We had over 3,668 attendance at our senior center in the month of September, which is huge. Also, I'd like to recognize we are planning our 50th year celebration on November 6th at 3 o'clock. Please get your tickets. Solid Waste, our Solid Waste Director, Kevin Walters, retired. We now have Mr. David Henry that will be serving as our acting Solid Waste Manager. He's doing a great job, and congratulations again to Kevin. Transportation, we had 111 potholes we repaired, 13 drop-offs, 20 leveling, and our Transportation Director, Chester Clegg, is taking all of our requests and doing a great job as well. So thank you for our report.
I'm gonna ask Commissioner Henderson if he would fill in for me. My daughter was in that car accident, and so I'm gonna step out, if you will, please. Okay. All right.
It's now 7:30, it's time for the zoning. Ms. Lasagna?
Yes, sir. It's 7:30, so we do have Ms. Shana Applewhite, Director of Development Services, coming for the public hearing.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Board of Commissioners. We have 6 zoning cases this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Our first case this evening is a map amendment. It is case number FLU 22-00004. The existing land use is residential and the PRC, Parks, Recreation, and Conservation. And the proposed land use is commercial and PRC. The existing zoning is agricultural residential. It's located in the South River watershed and it's on Snapping Shoals Road. The tax ID or map and parcel numbers are 19-13 and 19-13B. There are 2 lots. The total combined acreage of the 2 lots is 10.8 acres, and it is in District 1. And the owner and petitioner are Denise and Clifton Jones. Just a brief history. On the 27th of September, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this flume by a vote of 3-0. And the applicant's intent is to designate the future land use to commercial in PRC in order to seek a rezoning of the property for commercial use. And future land amendment map requests, again, is to go to the commercial PRC map amendment use. In conclusion, the 8.98 acre parcel is currently undeveloped. The 1.1 acre parcel has a house on it, and the applicant is proposing to combine the lots for commercial use. Pursuant to the Oak Hill character area appropriate land uses, the commercial/PRC is an appropriate land use request. Should the board decide to approve this petition, staff is of the opinion that the future land use amendment may be appropriate in this area. And since this is a map amendment, there are no conditions of zoning placed at this time for the future land use map amendments. Since this is just a planning tool for future requests. Should the request be approved and a petition filed for rezoning, then conditions of zoning would be applicable to that request. So they'll have to come back before this board to actually rezone the property. And at that time, we have recommended conditions for the board to consider. And this is an aerial view of the 2 parcels. There's the big one here and then this little one on inset there. Zoning map. It's currently zoned agricultural, residential, and we've got commercial zonings to the north and industrial to the south of it. Existing future land use is currently residential and PRC. So the PRC, it's the Parks and Recreation, runs along the stream. That's on this end here. And then we've got the residential portion in the middle. And of course, it's in the South River watershed. This is a boundary survey of the property. And this is a concept plan of the commercial use they are proposing. And if there are any questions for staff?
Does it stand? District 1 Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So, I may have missed it. What's the proposed, what would be the commercial use of the property, do we know?
It is restaurant. I believe that the applicant had voiced to us, and they are here to further explain or voice that to you. But they were exploring a restaurant, having some kind of a fast food restaurant out there, so.
And that is commercial adjacent, across 212 there, right?
Correct, sir. Yes, so up here is commercial already, neighborhood commercial. These 2 parcels, this is highway commercial. And then you've got heavy industrial below here. In the gray, this area here, that's all industrial.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Any more questions? Amen. So now we open this up for 10 minutes. All those, if you wouldn't step away. All those in favor of this particular zone, would you please come and speak? Looking just like there's 91 who are coming. So this portion of closed is closed. So all those who, okay, please come on. Thank you. Would you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, sir, and thank you so much for your time this evening. My name is Denise Jones. I'm half the owner, and
I'm Clifton Jones, the other half the owner. We reside at 2727 Old Salem Road in Conyers.
we've asked our project manager as well, if that's okay, to step up as well as Shane Seeley.
336 Person Street, Monticello, Georgia.
So I'm not sure what questions that you have for us, but Shayna, thank you for representing us well and setting that up. We are looking to do at that intersection is currently primarily commercial, and then on the other backside of that, it is also industrial. there are no eating places within 7.5 miles, of that particular intersection. That intersection is highly traveled for Rockdale, Jasper, and Newton County. So not only do we feel like it would be great for the residents of Newton County, but also in addition to bringing in revenue for the county, we're looking to do some type of restaurant that is affordable, especially with the demographics in that area. And we feel that that would be the best use. So at this time, we respectfully ask that the flume is changed to commercial, and then hopefully we'll be back before you soon to get the final rezoning of that particular property. And again, it's 10.8 acres at that intersection. Anything you want to add, Shane?
Yes, ma'am. So we have about 8 minutes and 36 seconds left. So if you would please stand to the side and let someone who may be in opposition to come and speak to us. Well, you could have a rebuttal.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all for your time tonight. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Are we sure? Wait a minute. First, let me go back a little bit because I was counting. Yes, ma'am. Anybody who may want to? Yes, ma'am. Please come. Come and form me a line. Because I kind of was kind of stuck with me on this evening. So we're gonna get through this.
That area.
And your name, please?
My name is Mary Lou Thomas. I'm Hope Thomas's wife. He owns the heavy industrial that is down there at Thomas Brothers. And we are looking forward to them being successful in finding some sort of an eating establishment in the area that does not have really anything down there.
Mm-hmm.
We wish them luck.
Okay, your address, please, for the record. You got it? Okay, yes, ma'am. Good. Next. Yes, ma'am. So since there's no one else in favor of this portion of the meeting is closed, we have about 10 minutes for rebuttal if needed. So anybody who is in opposition, could you please come now? Thank you. This part of the meeting is closed. There's no more in opposition. So at this time, we would entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. At this time, I'm making a motion to approve flume case number FLU 22-00004.
Second.
It has been motioned by Commissioner Edward and Commissioner by District 2, Commissioner Mason. Thank you. So, are there any discussion? Commissioner Coward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an issue I've talked to Patrick about. My question has been, we do the future land use maps amendments, and then later on they come back for zoning. How do we know that a restaurant will be built there and not a Dollar General? Can we put conditions on that?
You would deal with that at the time of zoning. Your future land use map doesn't authorize any use.
Okay.
Your zoning ordinance authorizes use. So the property will remain zoned AR unless and until they come back to seek other zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions? I asked, were there any more questions? Anybody got any more questions? Okay. Here has been motion and second. All those in favor? All opposed? None. It passes 4-5. Next, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay. Our next case this evening is also a future map amendment. It is case number FLU 22-000005. The existing land use map is AF, agricultural forestry. The proposed land use map is RR, rural residential. The existing zoning is A, agricultural, and it's in the Little River and Bear Creek watersheds. It is located along Highway 11. The map and parcel number is 128-6A, Total acreage is 112.5. It is located in District 1. Current owners are Thomas and Carol Moore, and our petitioner today is Mr. Randy Vinson. Brief history: on the 27th of September, the Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 3-0. An applicant's intent is to designate the future land use to rural residential in order to seek a rezoning of the property for single-family residential use. And again, they request to go to rural residential for the future map amendment. In conclusion, the 112.5 acre parcel is currently undeveloped, and pursuant to the Highway 11 Preservation Corridor Character Area appropriate land uses, rural residential is an appropriate land use request. Should the board decide to approve this petition, staff is of the opinion that the future land use amendment may be appropriate in this area. And there are no conditions of zoning placed again on a future land use map amendment request, since it's a planning tool. And should the board approve this and the applicants seek to come before the board again for a rezoning at that time, we'll place recommended conditions on the property. And this is an aerial view of the parcel along Highway 11. Current zoning is A, agricultural zoning. Future land use map today is agricultural forestry. These are the watersheds. It's mostly Little River, a little sliver of Bear Creek. And this is a boundary survey of the parcel and a concept layout as provided by the applicant. And if there are any questions for staff.
Any questions for staff? Okay. So,
and the applicant is here, Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone who's in favor, would you please come up, Mr. Vinson?
Thank you, Commissioners. Randy Vinson, 450 Jenkins Road, Covington. The intent here is to take the 112 acres that the Moores own and do an equestrian conservation development that would maintain the pasture frontage along Highway 11. So the view shed along Highway 11 would remain fairly intact, as it's been seen as a pasture for so many years. With the success of your economic development department and bringing all this new industry and growth to the county, there's going to be a great demand, and it's going to get even stronger over the next several years for new housing, especially on the eastern side of the county. And as some of you know, I've been promoting smart growth in Newton County for the 25 years that I've lived here. And the intent is to accept growth gracefully, that you can preserve the character of an area and still allow development. So that's what the intent is here. Agriculture just is not going to be viable on a 100-acre tract in this part. And therefore, in order to get, the benefit of not only the development, but to preserve the character by preserving that front pasture along Highway 11. That's why the conservation use overlay would be proposed. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, so you can hold on to the remaining of your minutes, and you can do a rebuttal. Are there anyone in opposition? Okay, anyone in favor? Please, come on up.
I'm Sandy Morehouse. We live outside Mansfield on land that's owned by my family for a very long time. Our farm, which is owned by my wife, my children, and my grandchildren, leases our entire farm to the Birch Hunting Club, which has about 400 members and which uses the land which is directly adjacent to the proposed zoning. We've been doing it, we've been leasing it for 40 years, or at least all of the land, not all of this land, but most of it. I've asked my wife Bessie to articulate our position.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing us here. I'm Betsy Morehouse. I live on Jeff Cook Road, and our family owns the Birch Club. We have two major objections to the proposed change in the future land use plan.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. This is for all who are in favor. If you're in favor of it, you should be speaking there. If you're not in favor, you both sit there until time comes for you to speak in opposition. So are there yes, ma'am. So are there anyone else who is in favor of this particular zoning? Please come. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
I'll start again.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Betsy Morehouse. I live on Jeff Cook Road, and our family owns the Birch Club. We have two major objections to the proposed change in the future land use map from agricultural to residential. First, the assessment of this proposed change to the future land use map by the Planning Commission in its findings stated that the proposed map amendment will not have an adverse effect on the use or usability of adjacent or nearby properties. That's quoted from the Planning Commission. Birch Club owns adjacent property on 3 sides of this property for which the change in the future land use plan is proposed. This land is a fully licensed hunting preserve and has been for many years. Placing a residential subdivision next door would seriously threaten our usage of the land. Birch is a business. Hunting is the most important part of our revenue. So we object to the Planning Commission's findings and believe that they are incorrect. Second, and important to us and to many landowners in the area, some of whom are here, this property for which a residential subdivision is proposed is in the Highway 11 Preservation Corridor of the Newton County Future Land Use Map. The corridor includes not only land on both sides of Highway 11, but also a great deal of land and landowners east of Highway 11 along Highway 142 to New Bern, land on County Road 229, land on Sewell Road, land on County Road 213 between New Bern and Mansfield, and more. All those areas are in this Highway 11 preservation area. So what is the county's future vision for the Highway 11 preservation corridor as expressed in the future land use map, which the applicant for this subdivision is attempting to change? I quote from the future land use document: protect active farms from encroachment, preserve the economic function of agriculture, livestock, and forestry, and most important, discourage residential subdivisions. If this change to the future land use map is granted, you will set the precedent for ignoring the future land use map and the wishes of those who live in this preservation corridor. Once a precedent like this is set, I say Katie bar the door. Maybe everybody doesn't know what that means, but it's a chink in the armor. It opens the door to lots of changes. We and those of us that live in that area hope you will turn down this requested change in the future land use map for the good of those who live here and for the ultimate good of Newton County. Thank you.
Or anyone else in opposition? Would you like to rebuttal?
stated earlier, the use of the conservation overlay where we would preserve the open pasture land along the Highway 11 frontage. The key there is to maintain that character. When, several years ago, when the proposal to have transfer of development rights with 20-acre minimums, that would have done, I believe, what the Morehouses would like to see out there. But 10 acres is not rural, and that's what your agricultural zone would allow. So you would have 11 driveways and houses fronting Highway 11 if it stays rural. If it goes to the conservation overlay, you would then enable the preservation of that pasture while being able to develop the back portion of the property. So that was the intent of the conservation overlay. The whole reason why that was added to the ordinance was to enable growth while preserving the rural character of the county.
Thank you. Any other comments? Amen. This portion of the meeting, since I see no more comments, is closed. Is there a motion?
Sir, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to deny flume case number FLU 22-00005.
We have a motion by Commissioner Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Cowens. Are there any yes, time for comments?
Okay, Mr. Benson, would you mind coming back up here? My understanding, the back part of that property that you're proposing rezoning backs up to the Birch Plantation, which is also one of their hunting fields. I think they hunt dove out there. Have you evaluated the impacts to the Sheriff's Department, what shotgun shooting is going to do to residential areas in that area? Because dove hunters, you know how they are. They're going to shoot the bird. If the bird is flying, this house is way out here, they're going to fire at it. We're going to have Mr. Morehouse is going to end up dealing with shotgun pellets, complaints, noise complaints, and things like that. That's going to be that's going to have an impact on an established business. Have you talked to the Sheriff's Department about that?
No, sir.
Okay.
There, again, I go back to there will be 11 houses on this land by right. So you aren't going to be able to stop the development of residential in this area, because as it stands right now, they wouldn't even have to come in for anything other than a preliminary plat review for 11 lots, because it would meet all the zoning requirements as it's.
But they would be up on Georgia 11, right?
They could be anywhere on the property.
Okay. They could be anywhere on the property. But you're not going to get, obviously, though, if you put that many houses, based on what your proposal was, we're going to get a lot of complaints about shotgun noise, pellets, things like that. Would you agree with that?
Potentially.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
I'm listening to both sides of this, and so my concern is, I guess it would be for Patrick or it would be for Shana, because I know we changed some things when it came after the moratorium and the ordinances and everything in place. Did they meet all the application requirements? That's my concern, because I don't want to go against any codes, or I want to make sure I'm in compliance.
Yes, Commissioner, this time for the map amendment change they do.
Even with the, is it fire range, Commissioner? Is it a fire? Even with that next door, everything is in compliance. I see it was unanimous when it came to the planning commission, so.
Yes, what they're requesting is in line with what our ordinance allows, for them to do the future map amendment in order to do this residential subdivision.
And it's how many homes?
The acreage only allows no more than 56 lots.
I just want to make one comment, and it's not directed towards anyone. I want you all to remember this when other districts are coming forth and other residents are saying they don't want various things in their community. I want y'all to be fair across the board, because there's been many districts that came up here and said that they want certain things in their community, and we voted for it, although they met the code and compliance with whatever is dealing with development services. So I just want commissioners to think about when other residents come up here and they're contesting various things in their community, we gotta listen to everybody in the county.
Thank you, Ms. Hathorn. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I want to make some additional comments. In addition to the observations that have already been made, the Morehouses and Commissioner Cowan, the backside of this property is a shooting preserve, not just for dove hunting. They hunt 6 months out of the year. And when I shoot my guns at my house, and I do, the deputy inevitably is called, and I have 40 plus acres. So I can only imagine what's going to happen with 56 houses plopped down in the middle of a pasture, adjacent to shotguns, the hunting that's taking place on this particular property on the back side. It's been taking place there for 50 years, by the way. So, and the farm has been in with the Morehouse family for over 200 years. So, but I really, so all the Highway 11 preservation corridor, all that stuff's important. But I wanted to hit on one other thing before we vote, and amending the future land use plan to further allow for a rezoning that is 180 degrees on what exists there now. You would be totally out of sync with the flume and the rezoning elements of that area as they are today. Essentially, you would be this would lead to spot zoning. And let me read a definition of spot zoning, and I have the reference for anyone that's interested. An additional favorite claim of neighbors is that the rezoning constitutes spot zoning. Spot zoning is a term used by the courts to describe a zoning amendment which is invalid because it is not in accordance with a comprehensive or well-considered plan which we have in place. Eastland Incorporated versus Floyd County, Georgia, and I won't recite the case number, has been defined as the process of singling out a small parcel of land for a use classification totally different from that of the surrounding area for the benefit of the owner of such property and to the detriment of the other owners. Spot zoning is generally used to refer to rezoning a small parcel to classification that differs from the general surrounding area. And this would be sitting down a totally different zoning, eventually a totally different zoning than what surrounds it in 365 degrees. So, 360 degrees. So, with that, I would encourage my fellow commissioners to deny this change. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. So, the motion was by Commissioner Edwards to deny. Is there a second? Okay, I'm sorry. You're moving too fast for me. Second by Commissioner Cowan. Are there any discussion?
I just have one question. Shana, what districts were present to vote for this? Do you happen to know the districts? From the planning?
No, I can't recall.
If you don't worry about it. I was
yeah.
just curious to know was your, Commissioner Edwards, was your zoning person present?
Yes, District 1 was there. That would be Mr. Ernie Smith.
Okay. Are you good?
Yeah.
Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Shana, with looking at this, with the current zoning, there is development that is possible, just not to this particular extent. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
If it were to remain zoned agricultural, the minimum lot size is 10 acres. So you'd have about 10 or 11 homes by right that can be developed there.
And if that happens, basically, that they won't have to come before this board to do that because of the present zoning that's already in place.
Correct. It'll just be a preliminary plat before the planning commission.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Commissioner Mason just sparked some questions in my head. So if by right they can have 11 homes, and even if we vote this down and they have 11 homes, they still gonna have the same issues with, as you asked him, with police. So what is gonna be the difference for voting for or against? I'm just trying to make sure before I vote, because if it's 11 homes there, if they feel that there is a noise ordinance or whatever, they still have to call the police, because by right, we as a board can't deny that by law. So what is the difference is what I'm trying to, there's still gonna be an issue with noise ordinance.
Well, I think the only difference would be the number of potential people that will be calling in to the sheriff's department. I mean, whether it's 11 or 56, I think it doesn't matter. I think it's just a matter of numbers.
So 56 homes is what he's proposing.
Correct.
Versus 11.
Correct.
But it's still homes that by law, I just want everybody to hear that by law, we can't, as a commission, can't deny it. I just want everybody to hear that. So 11 homes are still gonna be placed on that property.
Well, we can deny the future land use map amendment.
We could deny 56, but by law.
But we're not at the zoning phase yet.
Thank you. Any more questions? Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Shana, of course, when we just recently went through our zoning, and I know we're in the process of going through our comprehensive plan, which will probably entail zoning, and we'll really look at our county as a whole to decide from a future land use map perspective how we want to proceed and where we want to develop. So with your subject matter expertise, looking at this particular property, this may not be an answer that we have at this particular time because we haven't gone through that comprehensive plan to kind of decide where future development will take place, because we know more than likely, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect, is it a probability that once we get through the comprehensive plan, we're going to see some of that future land use map possibly change, or will it remain the same, or will that drive what we currently have in place? Will that future land use map that we currently have on the books, will that drive how we develop in that comprehensive plan?
So I think the current uses that we do have in the county, that is something that the consultant team will have to look at in terms of addressing the future land use map and determining what changes, if any, will be needed and where. So that would be a starting point, because we've got some areas that have obviously been developed, that have changed since what was originally designated for the future land use, because we've had several applicants come before to change the future land use map. So one of the things they will look at is see if there's any kind of a trend there, or if there's any area or areas that would need adjusting or looking at, and then they'll take it from there.
So would it be best, and maybe this might be something that Commissioner Edwards could maybe think about, would it be best to maybe table this particular matter until we can review it further and not just make a decision right now, because we don't know what's going to change when it comes to that comprehensive plan? So would it be better, to table it right now until we can get through that comprehensive plan to really address this concern?
The comprehensive plan won't be complete until June of next year. So that is one thing to consider, and you know, the board does have the authority to table it tonight if that is the wish. You know, and set a time when the applicant can, you know, come again for to look at it. So that's a decision that's entirely up to the board. You do have that discretion.
And I'm just throwing it out there, Commissioner. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just putting it out there. But thank you for answering the question.
Thank you. Mr. Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick, just to get your opinion on this, the board has to approve the future land use map amendments. They're not just done because the comprehensive plan changes. They actually have to come in here with a proposal to change the future land use map. Is that correct?
There's two ways your future land use map is changed. One is by applicants coming to you and asking to change the flume. The other is this board acting on its own, either by, you know, picking an individual location and changing it on the flume, or by adopting a whole new flume. So I think
either
if
way,
in the context of your new future land use map, you change the flume for this area, it would.
Either way, this board has to approve it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any more questions? There's a motion on the floor. Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan. All in favor? All opposed? It passes. I know, that's what I said. It was motion by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan to deny. And I said all in favor. It was passed unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Next on, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Our next case this evening is a conditional use permit. It is CUP 22-00005. There is a companion case that was already heard by the BZA. It's variance, and it's VAR 22-00007, and it was approved on August 25th, 2022. The proposed use is for a kennel for boarding and grooming dogs. It is located at 240 Rocky Point Road. It is on 11.51 acres. Tax ID is 74-3. The future land use is residential. The existing zoning is agricultural residential. It's in the Yellow River watershed and in Commission District 1. And the owner and petitioner is Michaela Morgan and Michael Frechette, and our petitioner today is Michaela Morgan. History. On August 25th, 2022, the BZA voted to approve with staff recommendations VAR 22-00007, and this was to reduce the setbacks for the east and west property boundaries from 500 feet to 120 feet, as well as to locate the kennel between the road and the home, and this was approved by a vote of 4-0. And on September 27th, 2022, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the CUP by a vote of 3-0 with staff's recommendation, and they had an added number 5 condition as well. And again, the applicant's intent is to establish a kennel for boarding and grooming dogs. And the subject site is just over 11 acres, zoned agricultural residential. There is a just about over 2,000 heated square feet home currently on the property, and it has a peculiar pie shape, which is why they had to seek that variance. And this again was granted on August 25th. So based on the site plan that was submitted by the applicant, on August 29th, staff offers the following consideration. And we have to look at fencing, property development standards, general design, standards, and signage. So the site plan and a letter of intent indicate the current shed, which is on the property now, will be replaced with a structure approximately 20 by 50 by 9 feet for the kennel. And they have provided development services with a survey of the property. The kennel will be placed in front of the home, in the front yard between the existing home and the road, but it will be set back about 700 feet from that road, which will be Rocky Point. The applicable section, and this is included in your staff packets, you have the definition for the kennel, and then the applicable section is from section 510-355, which is a kennel, which is 4 or more dogs. I'm not going to go through all of this again unless there are any questions, but this is in your staff packets. Conclusion, staff recommends approval of the conditional use request to establish a kennel for boarding and grooming of dogs with recommended conditions. And recommended conditions. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved for a conditional use permit for a commercial dog kennel by subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards. A, prior to the release of the business license, you must provide a copy of an approved fire inspection from the Newton County Fire Marshal to Development Services and complete an annual fire inspection from the Newton County Fire Services Department. B, prior to any construction of the kennel, the applicant must apply for and get approval for all required permits from Development Services. And the application must include a detailed site plan of the project. And C, obtain environmental health approval before the issuance of a business license. 2, must submit and maintain state licenses from the Georgia Department of Agriculture and submit yearly to Development Services Department upon renewing their business license. 3, any outside activity or exercises, and this is for the animals, dogs, must occur within fenced enclosures, 5 feet in height, and it must be at least 100 feet off of any boundary line on the property. 4, there will be no more than 25 kennels allowed. 5, this was added by the Planning Commission. The couple is approved for 2 years, at which time the applicant will return to the Planning Commission board to be heard. This is an aerial view of the property. You can see it is pie-shaped, narrow at the road, wide at the back. And we just can show a little bit of the measurements here. So it's going to be over 700 feet off the road, even though it's in the front yard, technically. It's just an aerial view showing what it looks like today. It is zoned agricultural residential. The future land use is residential, RES. It's in the Yellow River watershed, District 1. This is a boundary survey of the parcels. So currently we have the existing home here. This is the existing shed that will be with a fence that will be torn down and replaced with the kennel. And this is just a rendering that was submitted by the applicant and a potential layout of what the kennel will look like. And if there are any questions.
Yes, are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Edwards and then Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Sheena, and you may have said this and I just missed it. Will there be any breeding at this facility? Any dog breeding?
Breeding? As far as we were told by the applicant, it will be for boarding and grooming.
This question may be for Patrick. Can we ask stipulations as a board tonight? This is just a flume over there.
No, sir, this is a conditional use
permit. You could condition it on no breeding operations.
Not to my knowledge, sir. It's just for boarding and grooming. When we spoke with the applicant, those were the uses they explained.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shana, I may have misunderstood, but did you say this was a companion case to something?
Yes, a variance. In August, we had a variance that was heard because of the shape of the lot. There's a 500 setback from all boundaries next to residential. They couldn't meet it on these two, on the east and west boundaries. So the variance was to reduce that 500 feet to 120 feet.
So we've already approved that, right?
The BZA has already approved that,
Okay.
correct?
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any more questions for staff? Okay, there'll be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm sorry, 10 minutes for anyone who's in opposition, in favor.
Yes, I think the applicant is here.
10 minutes for anybody who's in favor. If you would, please come.
I'm Michaela Morgan, and I own 240 Rocky Point Road in Covington, near Jackson Lake. For the breeding, absolutely not. I was a vet tech for 6 years before I became a stay-at-home mother that started pet sitting and grooming, and I've just expanded to where I need to have a boarding facility. I'm totally against breeding, so you do not have to worry about that at all. I have 4 goats that I don't necessarily am not a breeder, but they are pregnant. But that's as far as breeding is going to get on this land. So absolutely no dog breeding, and not even a chance. I will not allow, if there's an unneutered male and an unfixed female, they will not be able to be in the same fence to even start that breeding for those clients as well. My biggest thing is I've been pet sitting for about 7 years once I became a vet tech at 18. One thing led to another. Once I had my son, I ended up not wanting to go back to work, but I missed working with the animals. I grew up on a farm, and if you've seen in the past, this was a wooded lot. We have been clearing for pasture. We do plan on getting horses. We do have goats and chickens and such now. But with a blessing in disguise, word of mouth kind of traveled really quickly, and I'm extremely busy. I am getting calls every day for pet sitting. I do own a mobile grooming company in Newton County that is licensed and insured. We also do grooming at my house. There is a current shed there that will be torn down. It is in no way, shape, or form for boarding or grooming. It's literally just a well house, pretty much, and my husband's tool shed that will be torn down. Now, there is 2 fences that's already there for if we get approved for this dog building. It is both 5 foot high. One is going to be for a small dog fence, and one is for a large dog fence. And then actually, those are also fenced inside of a pasture fence that we have fenced in. So most of the land is fenced in, and then there's fencing on top of fencing. So that kind of accords with, I know that the fences have to be at least 5 foot. But other than that, now the 25 kennels, this diagram, it shows 26, but I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I've been in PICU with my daughter and my son that was both admitted for a couple of days with RSV. They did actually get to go home this evening. Thank the Lord, so I was able to be here. It shows 26, but actually that last one to the far left down is actually a closet. It is not supposed to be a kennel. That one right there, yes. That is actually supposed to be a closet, but I forgot to label that as I was sitting in the hospital bed trying to design this. So there is 25 kennels. Now I would like to mention, I'm not sure if that meant just boarding kennels, but in the grooming room, I would like to have portable rolling grooming kennels just where the dogs would be while they're getting, groomed, and then put back in those kennels until their parents pick up. I don't know if that's going to be an issue because there is 25 boarding kennels already, but that would be my only concern if we could extend the kennel usage just so I can have some grooming kennels in the barn.
Yes, ma'am.
That's
so
it.
You have about 6 minutes and 58 seconds left. Would you like to use it for rebuttal? Come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. So all those in favor, if everyone will come in favor, please come. If anybody else in favor. Okay. So that portion is closed right now. All those in opposition, would you please come at this time? All right. So that's good. So at this time, is there a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve conditional use permit CUP 22-000005 with staff recommendations.
Second.
Hey, all right, there's been a motion by Commissioner Edwards with to approve with staff conditions and a second by Commissioner Mason. Are there any discussion? Commissioner.
Thank you. So, if Ms. Morgan sold her property, this cup is not transferable, is that correct? Does that die with her selling the property?
It is unique to her specific case.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All in favor? It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Our next case this evening is a rezoning. It is REZ 22-000011. It's located on Henderson Mill Road on 12.71 acres. Tax ID is 88-012C. The existing land use map is RR, rural residential. Existing zoning is agricultural. Proposed zoning is agricultural residential. Watershed is Bear Creek. Alcovy River, it's in Commissioner District 1. Current owners, NAC Construction, and our petitioner today is Loretta Lynn Bice. The history: on May 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the flume to be amended to rural residential. On June 21st, the Board of Commissioners approved the flume rural residential. The applicant's intent is to rezone the parcel from agricultural to agricultural residential for the purpose of subdividing the parcels into 5 lots. The subject site again is 12 acres. The Planning Commission did recommend this for approval as well. Conclusion or findings. Provided staff's recommended conditions are incorporated into the development of the site, the proposed zone change request to agricultural residential is consistent with policies and intent of the comprehensive plan and with the approved zonings in the area. And again, the applicant's intent is to subdivide the parcel into 5 lots, and that's the purpose of the rezoning. So based on the site plan submitted July 25th, 2022 by the applicant to Development Services, staff offers the following consideration. Land use and density. The applicant is proposing that the lot be rezoned from A to AR to allow for subdivision of the property into 5 parcels in order to construct single-family residences. In the agricultural district, it is required to have a minimum of 10-acre parcels. And although there's 12.71 acres, there are limits to the way in which the tract can be subdivided in that case. So in order to subdivide the property, the applicant is requesting this zone change, agricultural residential, to accommodate their proposal. Conclusion. Given the fact that the property is zoned A and in close proximity of similar existing zonings as agricultural residential, along with the applicant's proposed uses of the land, staff is of the opinion that the rezoning may be appropriate for the site. And the recommended conditions. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved AR, agricultural residential, conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. 1. To the owner's agreement to abide by the following. A minor plat of the newly created parcels must be submitted and approved by the Department of Development Services. And B, any required permits must be obtained from the Department of Development Services before any construction or development on the property. And this is an aerial view of where the property is located. Current zoning is agricultural. The flume is approved to be rural residential. It's split between 2 watersheds, Alcovy and Bear Creek. And this is the survey or the proposed layout. All lots are greater than 2 acres, which is required by the underlying watershed district. Oh, if there are any questions for staff.
Any questions? Hello, staff. Mr. Cowell.
Exactly where that property is.
Where is it? Yeah. It is on Henderson Mill Road. McDonald. So McDonald Road is down here. And it's actually the corner of Henderson, or almost to the corner of Henderson and McDonald Road. Maybe you can see better on this one here. So this is McDonald Road here, and then Henderson Mill.
Okay. Have we done any zonings in that area recently, or in the last year or so?
We did a rezoning of this parcel right here recently, just up the road, yeah. To the same agricultural residential. All the light green spots are AR, which is what they're asking to go to. This is rural estate down here. And then everything else is agricultural zoning.
Okay. Are we getting in the same problem we had with Mr. Morehouse? We're not? Okay. I'm just asking Stan the question. I'm sorry.
Are there any more questions? Questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Mr. Applewhite.
The applicant is here, Chairman.
Amen. With the, who all is in favor, would you please come at this time? Could you give me a name, please, for the record? Name and address.
Good evening. My name is Loretta Bice. I will be living at 70 McDonald Road, which is the back side of this farm. And the NAC Construction is proposing 5 homes, to where most of the 5 homeowners are all related. So they're just developing it for, like Miss Smith here, her parents. I can't remember the lady's name, but her and her son will own 2 lots, and my grandson will own 1. We've been before you guys before. My name is Lynn Smith, and
Please speak to the mic if you could, please.
Okay. We have been before you guys before, and we appreciate you listening to us again. We have the last few meetings that we've had. We have the stipulations that we needed to have all of the lots to be 2 acres or more, and we have done that. All the forms, documents, and everything have been presented. And we just ask that you guys allow us to please start building our house now. It would be myself and my husband, my parents, and as she said, her grandson and another mother and son. So we'll be a great addition.
Is there anyone else who may be in favor if you're through? Anyone else? Are y'all through?
In favor?
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else in favor?
All
May
3
wanna
of
come?
them.
Would you like to come and make a statement?
Do y'all want to come talk? There we go.
Still have a little time left.
Yeah, we got a few more.
State your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Gavin Smith, and I presently live in 55 Trasher Road, Covington. And basically, we just have looked around for different areas where we want to live and set up home. And the area that we have found the most is the area that you're looking at present. We're not looking to do anything different with it. We're looking to maintain the way it is and just live a peaceful, happy life and keep down the noise where possible. That's about it, really, guys. I haven't got too much more to say. There will be a few sheep, cows, chickens, ducks, that kind of stuff involved. Loud music on the weekends. No, I'm only joking. But that's about it, really. Yeah, we work a lot, so we're never really home. And we're just looking for somewhere to invest in for when we are home. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I will leave it to the professionals.
Are there any questions? So, if not, would y'all, is there anyone in opposition to this zoning? Would you please come at this time? I don't believe there's an opposition. So what we're going to do, Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve rezoning case number REZ 22-000011 with staff recommendations.
Second. There's been a motion by Commissioner Edward and a second by District 4 County Commissioner J.C. Henderson. Are there any comments, any discussion? Don't see anyone. All vote. Ms. Appleway, next.
Our next case this evening is another rezoning. It's REZ 22-000012, located on McDonald Road. It's on 41.93 acres. Tax ID is 89-9F. Existing land use map is rural residential. Existing zoning is agricultural. The proposed zoning is agricultural residential. Watershed is Alcovey River. It's located in Commissioner District 1. Current owner is Stuart McDonald, and our petitioners today are David and Tiffany Lynch. An applicant's intent is to rezone it from A to AR for the purpose of subdividing out 5 acres. So they're doing 1 5-acre lot. And again, the site is on McDonald Road and it's over 40 acres. Conclusions to findings. Provided staff's recommended conditions are incorporated into the development of the site, the proposed zone change request to AR is consistent with the policies and intent of the comprehensive plan and with approved zonings in the area. On the site plan analysis, based on the plan submitted August 2nd to the department, the following considerations are offered. So the land use and density. Applicant is proposing that the lot be rezoned from A to AR to allow for 5 acres to be subdivided out. In the A zoning, typically it's a 10-acre minimum, so that this wouldn't allow them to do it in this case, hence why they're requesting it to be rezoned to agricultural residential. Conclusion. Given the fact that the property is zoned A in close proximity of similar existing zonings as AR, along with the applicant's proposed uses of the land, staff is of the opinion that the rezoning may be appropriate for the site. And recommended conditions. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved agricultural residential conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following. A minor plat of the newly created parcel must be submitted and approved by Development Services, and B, any required permits must be obtained from the Department of Development Services before construction or development of the property. And this is an aerial of the lot. Current zoning is agricultural. Future land use map, rural residential. Alcovey River is the watershed, and it's in Commissioner District 1. This is the parcel up here, it's the boundary survey of the 41 acres. And this is a concept of what they're getting ready to subdivide out the 5 acres up here. And then this is going to be the remainder. And if there are any questions for staff, I believe the applicant is present.
Are there any more questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Ms. Appleway. Who all is in favor? Would you please come at this time and state your name?
I'm David Lynch.
Tiffany Lynch. Basically, we're just trying to cut out 5 acres from my parents' land to build a house on it. So, that's all I have.
That's all I need?
That's all I got.
Is there anyone else in favor? Would you please come at this time? Amen. So I see there's no one else in be in favor. Are there anyone who's in opposition? Would you please come at this time? I see that there's none. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'm very familiar with this piece of property. I'd like to make a motion this time to approve rezoning case number REZ 22-000012 with staff recommendation.
There has been a motion by Commissioner Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mason. There has been motion and second. Are there any discussion? Trusting there's none. All in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, Chairman, our final case this evening is a modification. It is MOD 22-000002. And proposal is to modify the conditions of zoning from case number MOD 11-000138 by substituting the site plan for condition number 2A, which references the preliminary site plan associated with a proposed operation of a landscape business, and to remove condition number 3D, which limits the hours of operation from 7 a.m. through 10 p.m., and also to remove condition 3E, which requires the maintenance of a 75-foot tree line along Shepherd Road. So the existing zoning is general commercial, and it is in the Salem Overlay Tier 2. It's located at 2486 Highway 81, parcel size 2.63 acres, tax ID 28A-1. This is in Commissioner District 4. Current owner is Catherine Dale Chestnut, and our petitioner and representative today is John Nix. And again, applicant's intent is to modify the condition of zoning for a previous modification that was done, MOD 11-00138. And what their intent is to substitute a new site plan for the one that was submitted back in 2011, and that would be condition 2A. And then they would like to remove condition 3D, which would be addressing the hours of operation, the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy or the business license. So the applicant is proposing to substitute this site plan that was submitted in 2011 with a new one today. And the second condition they'd like to have modified is 3, D, and E. And that's the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards. D, hours of operation shall be limited from 7 a.m. through 7 p.m. So they're asking us to remove this condition. And E, all existing trees along the northern property line adjacent to Shepherd Road for a width of no less than 75 feet shall remain and shall be kept in their natural state and replaced as necessary. So they're asking to remove this condition as well, and it will be replaced with a landscaping plan suitable for the use they're proposing. Conclusion. Should the Board of Commissioners recommend approval of the modification to modify conditions 2A and to remove conditions 3D and 3E of the 2011 modification petitions, staff recommends the following conditions to be applied to the property. So should this modification petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where this condition conflicts with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards and regulations. A, they must maintain a landscaped strip as approved by the county along Shepherd Road. B, the hours of operation will be from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days per week. C, all other conditions from the original rezoning dated July 19, 2005, and staff has added also the modified case from December 20th, 2011. So all the conditions from those two cases, as approved by the Board of Commissioners, shall still apply. So when they remove these two conditions that they're requesting, they still have to comply with the remaining conditions from those two cases. This is an aerial view of where the parcel is located. It's just by the new roundabout that was put in at 81 and Salem Road. And that is Shepherd Road behind here. Zoning, general commercial. Salem Overlay Tier 2. It's in the Yellow River watershed. This is the survey with the proposed layout that they have submitted. And then there's a concept plan showing the retail spaces that they're hoping to put there. And if there are any questions for staff?
Yes, are there any questions for staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shana, exactly what are they modifying as far as the site plan goes?
As far as the...
Does it deal with the encroachments or the property lines or anything like that?
No, so one of the conditions they're asking to modify, there's supposed to be a 75 feet border back here, with a tree line. And they're asking to remove that, and then it's going to be replaced, if the board approves it, with a landscaped buffer. So we're not removing the buffer entirely. So that is one of the conditions. The other one was the hours of operation. They wanted to change it to 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. And then, of course, this is the new site plan that they would like to substitute for the one that was submitted in condition 2A. Because before it was a landscaping business before, but they are proposing commerce now.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions for particular zoning? Thank you, Ms. Hathaway. Who all is in favor of this modification? Please come at this time.
Good evening. My name is John Nix, 945 Bank Street, Conyers, Georgia. I'm here for the owner, Catherine Dale Chestnut. The individual or the company that's contracted with Ms. Chestnut to purchase this property it's a company called Albari Investments. They're active in Greater Atlanta. They have approximately 24 locations in the Greater Atlanta area. And their brands they typically sell to or operate out of are Shell, Gulf, and Texaco. They consider this site what they would like to be a flagship for their operation. This is the first time they'll be combining a convenience store with standalone commercial. Typically, it's not standalone. Their investment is going to be between $3 and $3.5 million for this site. They want it to be a grade A, class 1 site, similar to what we'd experienced from a Quick Trip, something on that level as far as their cleanliness and their presentation. The site right now as it sits is got the right future land use maps, got the right zoning. What inhibits the proposed use is the two conditions we're asking to be removed. If you look at the site plan to the rear that goes to Shepherd Road, if you're familiar with the property, there is a fence line that goes down along Shepherd Road with an existing tree line. A lot of the trees are trees that have gone up through the fence line, but there is a decent stand of trees there. The solid line that's in green coming down from Shepherd Road, that's actually the edge of right-of-way. So Shepherd Road's got 40 feet of right-of-way, about 20 feet of pavement, and then the right-of-way actually comes into that line, and that's all trees. You've also got sanitary sewer that runs, she thinks I know how to operate that. You also have sanitary sewer that runs along the right-of-way. If you look, as I'm standing looking at the site, if you look to the far left, that area can probably be preserved with the tree line. We're asking to remove the condition, but one of the things we're going to try and do is preserve that tree line right there. As you go past the driveway to that curve, that's where the tree line is going to have to come out, simply because of the grade differential. Shepherd Road is about 8 or 9 feet below the grade of final grade on the proposed site. And then all the way back to the corner where it tapers down, we'd be able to preserve trees in that tapered corner, but because of what's going to be required to do the detention facility, there'd have to be clearing in that space. And we're proposing to do planted buffer there. I'd really like it to be replanting of some trees and make it look like more of a park setting. And I know you're saying, how can it be a park setting with a detention pond? One of the things we're going to do is have an urban pond, which basically means the cover at the bottom of the pond is going to be suitable for mowing. It's not going to be like a lawn, but it's going to be able to match up to the lawn that surrounds it to hopefully give a good-looking green space there. I think I'm going to reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal or discuss further what the opposition has in mind. I'd also say that when you stand in the circle of the roundabout, which I've done, and move completely like a clock, there are 2 other convenience stores in this area, and they were all built before the overlay. And because of the overlay, the architectural requirements for this facility, it'll be the first thing at this roundabout that will be subject to those conditions. So it's going to be a significant upgrade as far as appearance, because of the glass requirements, the architectural requirements, everything that goes about your overlay for this roundabout. Not only will it be the flagship of all of our investments, but it'll be the flagship of this roundabout. And I'll reserve the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more people in favor? All right. Thank you. Or anyone in opposition of this modification?
I'm Jimmy Nail, live on Cedar Road in Covington. I have a particular interest in this corner right here. How did we get from a landscaping to stores? What is that? I thought it was a landscaping spot that's going to go in there. Right? And then the property adjoining it, I happen to own it. You can see a little bit of it there in the frame that's up there. And that 2005, 2011 stuff y'all worked on before, that was pre-traffic circle. There was actually more land there. I don't know that there's 2.63 acres there. The sign was set 2.63 acres before they put the traffic circle in. So I'd like to know how much land's actually there. And they're doing away with buffers, setbacks. I mean, what next, you know? What next? My building's grandfathered in. But I couldn't build that building there now. And so I'm against it. I'm against it. I don't think there's 2.63 acres there. There's been a traffic circles come in since you guys struck a deal 11 years ago or 15 years ago or whenever. It's all changed now. So I don't know what else to say. That's not no landscaping business. Kind of looks like a whole bunch of buildings and parking lots there, and I just don't think the land's there to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there anyone else in opposition? Please come at this time.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Carla Hooper, 45 Carmody Circle, Covington, Georgia. As the gentleman said, I was a little confused sitting out in the audience. I saw landscaping in the agenda, but I did read something about a convenience store, gas station, so I'm confused. Is it a landscaping business or is this another convenience store? Because again, when I thought it was a landscaping business, I said, why would a landscaping business want to cut down a beautiful tree line? So I am concerned that we are getting rid of green space. And the presenter said we might do this, we might do that, but nothing is guaranteed in what he will replace for that green space. So I would say we should not do that. And if this is a convenience store, I don't know how many convenience stores are open to midnight. I don't know if that's a good thing to have in the area. I do know of convenience stores like the Kroger, they close at 10 o'clock. So those two things are a concern, and I would like some clarity. Is this a landscape business or a convenience store? Thank you.
Or anyone else in opposition? At this time, please come back. I'm sorry.
First of all, it was, when y'all rezoned it, it was rezoned for a commercial use of a landscape company. It just so happens that the overlay in this tier allows this use too. So it's zoned properly for the use. What makes it a challenge is that the two conditions that we're talking about, and the first gentleman is correct as far as to do what they're trying to do on this site is tight, but remember, if these conditions are removed, then the applicant, the owner, all of our investment would probably close, and they would come and try and get a land disturbance permit. And when they come and get that land disturbance permit, under your zoning, they're going to have to comply with all of overlay requirements. In fact, a couple of the overlay requirements are not met by the site plan. That's why it's conceptual. So if there are setbacks that are required under the overlay, everything that's required under the overlay is going to apply. The conditions that we're addressing are conditions in addition to those overlay requirements that were required at the landscape company. A lot of convenience stores operate different hours than from what we're proposing of 6 to 12. It's very common for convenience stores to open at 6 o'clock. We're certainly not proposing a 24-hour facility. And because of the overlay, the lighting requirements for your overlay are going to minimize the lighting on the site too. The overlay makes it a very challenging thing to do as far as a common convenience store versus what you're asking in your overlay. And one of the reasons Alvari wants this site is because they want it to be their flagship, so they're willing to make that investment. So it's not going to be a run-of-the-mill. The tree line on the back, yes, some of it's going to have to come down. How much of it's going to come down, I can't tell you, because it's based on site conditions and the grade that's required to get that detention pond in. All I can say is that there's going to be an effort made to retain as much of the tree line as possible. We're pretty confident we can do it in that upper part, running adjacent to his property. It's a $3 to $3.5 million investment. When you look at all of the commercial property around this circle, I looked at the values on your tax digest. They don't equal combined this investment. I don't know if that, I think that, and it's a positive investment as far as what it looks like, what the appeal is. And it seems that the objections to it are from the adjacent property owner, and also some confusion, which I understand when you look at the application about the pre-existing use that was allowed of the landscape company. But we're here to ask you to consider removing those two conditions and allow us to move forward to see if we can put this facility on the site and make it a showpiece for that roundabout. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. Once again, what was the what was staff recommendation?
first one was to maintain a landscape strip as approved by the county along Shepherd's Road. So they're not going to just remove the tree line completely. We will ensure it is maintained and can be kept. And then the hours of operation, we're going to recommend it's changed from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, and that will be for 7 days per week. And then all of the conditions from the original rezoning case, as well as a modified case in December, we're asked that they have to keep those conditions, they'll still apply. So we're not removing any of the other conditions, we're just modifying those two that they're requesting.
Yes, ma'am. So the planning commission recommendation is to approve.
So this actually did not go before the planning commission.
Okay, I understand non-voting.
Modifications sorry?
Vote staff then. Y'all had to look at it.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
That's the staff.
What
is
your recommendation?
Yes.
These are our recommendations here too, after speaking with the applicant. So we are putting time hours on it. It's just different from what was originally there since they asked us to remove those. But we weren't looking for a 24-hour operation. So this was recommended, we were in agreement with these hours. And then of course, we're not taking down the landscaping completely. It's just where, so it's just, if you look at the side plan, so in this area here where we've got the pavement, they're gonna have to do some grading here to take down some of the trees there and where the detention pond has to go in. But we do have ways that they can compensate or plant trees in different areas on the property to maintain that greenscape.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Shana, because I don't see it in the packet, I saw the following uses that are not allowed, but I didn't see in the packet what is allowed if we were to change this modification. Are there anything else besides this retail space and a landscaping business? Are those the only two? Or are there other uses that are allowed? Because I don't see those here.
Correct. So the other uses that will be allowed are as stated in our use tables in the ordinance. So in the Salem overlay, there's about 2 pages of uses that are allowed. So it would be all of those except these that are listed. These are the ones that could not go in there. And the convenience store is not listed as a prohibited use as one of the original conditions. So this is why this use would be allowed. And we would have to consult with the ordinance and any proposed uses that come in. We always check with ordinance to make sure that it is an allowed use or not.
Also, there are, when you look at Shepherd Road, there are a line of homes that are there. How would this particular project impact those homes that are actually along Shepherd Road, or will they at all?
And this would be one of the reasons why we are still maintaining a buffer along this road. It wouldn't be the full 75 feet. Because Shepherd Road acts as a separation between this lot and the homes, technically they're not adjacent to, so we couldn't enforce the required buffer for that boundary over there. And it would be about 10 feet if it were enforced, according to the Salem overlay.
Okay, so it shouldn't negatively impact those homeowners that are there. I don't even know if we may not have had a conversation with them or even know what their thought process is behind having this type of project or having this type of establishment where when they walk out of their front door, this is what they're going to actually see. Yeah. Also, the other gentleman that came up, he said that he owned the land adjacent to this. Is that the one?
Yeah, right there where it used to be a grocery store. Is it that land, or is it the land right next to?
This is the only parcel that is adjacent to this one, actually, because it touches directly. Yes.
Correct. So he owns that. Is that correct? So you own the store? Okay. Yes. So do we even know what the expected usage is of that land adjacent to see if this particular project and what potentially the owner's potential expectation or usage for the adjacent property, would both of these projects really mirror or complement each other, or would they not complement each other, or do we even know?
So currently we are reviewing land disturbance permit plans for this property here, which is also for a convenience store with gas station with pumps. So this project is being reviewed right now. So they're going to be similar uses side by side. The ordinance does not prohibit this. So legally we could not tell one or the other, no, they could locate there with that business.
So we could potentially have two convenience stores right next to each other?
Correct.
And then also, I know you were saying the modification possibly until 12. If I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect, I think most convenience stores are closing like at 11 versus 12. So I don't know if that will make a major difference or not with that 1 hour.
And that probably be a question for the applicant, but I do want to know the board does have the discretion to change the conditions before approval, if they would like to see it at 11 o'clock. But I think in terms of how it will affect the business, maybe the applicant can answer.
So
that.
yes, if you don't mind, Mr. Nix, answering that question, what would be that hour difference? Because generally, about 11 o'clock is normally the latest. From what I've observed.
I can't answer that commercially. I know what the request of the client was, and that's what I'm advocating. I don't know what an hour difference makes. I would say, as far as the residential to the rear, the whole commercial orientation and parking and frontscape of the structures are all going toward the roundabout, and it would be the rear of the building that would have the screening of hopefully 50% of the existing tree line than what we plant. We're going to have 5,400 square feet proposed of convenience store and 7,700 square feet of commercial. That's what makes the site different than the property adjacent, because you have that commercial space that's available. It's anticipated that one of those spaces is going to be a restaurant, which seems to be the trend when you build more than a convenience store. And I would say that market drives what people want to do with land. Now, that doesn't drive what you all let them do with land, but it drives what people want to do with land. This is a pretty sophisticated company. They have 24 locations in metropolitan Atlanta. They've looked at this site. I know they've looked at the traffic. They've looked at the roundabout. They know what goes through there. They also know that they're familiar with the property next door. They're also familiar with these other two locations that are right there, along with a Dollar General and a restaurant. And they feel that they can make an investment between $3 and $3.5 million to be successful. That doesn't speak to everything y'all have to consider, but the private enterprise side of this says, yeah, this is a really good place for us to go. And again, it's going to look like the Salem overlay that y'all's ordinance provides as far as architectural advantages, and it's going to, I think, enhance that roundabout and maybe drive some other development for some of the older buildings that are there. One of the buildings there that's a convenience store dates back to 1972, which isn't that old. But I mean, they've got a temporary garage structure in front of it that's on. I'm not knocking it, but I mean that's the use that's there compared to what you'd have with something constructed pursuant to the overlay.
And they have the convenience store that you're referencing. I know they did do some renovations and they've tried to do some upgrades to kind of help get it up to, of course, not to that Salem overlay, but to give it different aesthetics to kind of help look better in that particular area.
You're exactly right. And that's reflected on the tax records too, that they did some improvements several years ago. But again, it's not the standard that you're looking for based on your zoning and your land use plan for this roundabout. But I hope I addressed your question.
You did. I guess just where and of course it's Commissioner Henderson's district. It was very close to my district, so I'm very familiar with the area. Just the competition of possibly having 2 convenience stores may be something that we may want to take into consideration. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
That was my concern too, but I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, because looking at some of the information didn't really tell exactly what it may be. And so my concern would be with that store that's already there, how is it going to affect their business? And then I'm seeing it's being in a roundabout, the traffic. Roundabout's supposed to help us with the traffic. And you're going to have 2 businesses next to each other, and then somebody's going to both stores at the same time, trying to get out and get into the roundabout. So that's my other concern of the traffic. That's what the roundabout's supposed to be for, is to help make traffic smoother. So that's a huge concern for me with and you said it's not a gas station, it's just a convenience store. It's not going to have pumps. Yes,
No, it's a convenience store with gas.
That's the other issue. That's going to bring a lot of traffic in that one little roundabout, and how all those people are going to get in. And are you going to have any trucks, big, huge trucks going in there putting the gas? So that's a huge concern too. So how are those huge trucks going to go through that roundabout, get in and get out, back out? So there's a lot of concerns with this project. And then the other thing, possibly maybe meet with the residents to hear their concerns. Because that's one of the things I know in that area, and it's also not far from District 3, we all are connected. They've had huge issues with gas stations in that area. So it's a possibility, maybe speak with the residents as well, have a town hall to hear from them. Because I don't want to be putting something in place and you have the residents, and I know developers have their rights. I don't want to infringe on your rights, but I do think about the residents in the area as well.
I anticipated 2 of your questions, not the third one.
I know I was wrong.
No. We did a radius study, which looks on the truck turning radius and the ability to get in and out of the site, and it works. However engineers do that, it passed muster. The second thing is, you'll see on this diagram, in particular, the 2 entryways onto the site that are already there. You see those 2 curb cuts inside the triangle? Well, one's outside the blue triangle, one's inside the blue triangle. When DOT designed this roundabout for this intersection, for the traffic they already saw was coming there, because they did traffic counts to do it, and what's there today, those are the 2 curb cuts they provided for this property. So the potential, the design that's presented to you all is using the same 2 curb cuts DOT identified and located for use on the roundabout. So we're stemming right up to what they proposed and built out there. The property to the left, the gentleman that spoke, his entry in and out is not at the roundabout. It's as you approach the roundabout. So it's just a different way of locating it. But the DOT planned how to get in and out of this site based on their design of the roundabout. And of course, we said, the engineers that designed our site said, yeah, that's what we're going to use, of course, not wanting to buck the DOT on where they picked them. But we anticipated that. Finally, about the neighbors, I did not reach out to the neighbors. I was really surprised because of the people that came out in 2011 for the landscape, that people weren't here. As I sat in position number 6, I kept waiting for my group to show up, and we certainly would try to talk to them. But the biggest thing they wanted back then was that tree line, and that's the thing that we're trying to preserve partially. We cannot build this site without taking down some of it.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Well, I've kind of made a decision since this is in District 4. And I've been nudged on by 2 commissioners too as well. I think the right thing to do at this juncture is for us to table it and give time maybe to advertise to the community to come out and kind of hear they say. And I spoke to the county attorney. I spoke to the county attorney, and he was telling me that that wouldn't, at this juncture, mess up the zoning because this gives us a chance to.
You're allowed to table an item if you think it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. So, I'd like to make a motion to table this until, what is a good time? You think it's a good time? Next meeting? 60 days? 60 days? 60 days in which to come back before this board, and it gives opportunity for the districts, the 2 districts to come together and talk about it, the districts to come together and talk about it, and then we'll make a decision. I'll make a decision then. I make the informal motion.
I'll second.
It has been motioned by me, the 4th District County Commission, and second by District 2 Commissioner Mr. Mason. All in favor? All in favor to table. Okay, it passes 60 days. It passes 5-0.
So that'd be sometime in December or going into January, right? To make that. As always, y'all, thank you for your attention. I appreciate it.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
The next item we have on the agenda is going to be number 9 of 22, the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. I'm trusting everybody have read it and know what's on it.
9A would be approval of cancellation of regular board meetings for November 15th and December 20th. That would mean that we would have 1 meeting in November.
Correct.
And 1 meeting in December as we traditionally do.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Does somebody make a motion? Commissioner Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to make I don't know if this would be an amended motion. Correct me if I'm wrong, to add items 10, 13, 15, 18, and 19 to the consent agenda. The second time. 10, 13, 15, 18, and 19.
15 and 18.
Okay.
It's a motion to amend the agenda to add those items, and then if that's approved, we'll vote on that.
Okay. So just so everybody know, would you explain to us, please, County Attorney, Mr. Patrick?
There's been a motion to amend the agenda to add items 10, 13, 15, 18, and 19 to the consent agenda.
So moved as stated by the county attorney.
Second for point of discussion.
It has been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Mason. Are there any discussion? Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So I have a question. So is it possible to put our monthly financials under the consent agenda? Or, because I think that has to actually be presented, correct?
Well, there is a written presentation. There is no requirement that we spoke about. But there is a written presentation.
Correct. Okay. I just wanted to clarify because I wanted to make sure that we were doing it correctly. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion?
Can you repeat? Commissioner Edwards, can you repeat those numbers again? I'm just trying to make sure I have those correct.
Yes, ma'am. Motion to amend the agenda to add items 10, 13, 15, 18, and 19 to the consent agenda.
15, 18, and 19.
Okay, it has been motion and it has been second. All in favor? It passed unanimously.
And I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like someone to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second. Second. It has been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to make mention of the board appointments, just so that their
Yes,
names are
ma'am.
recorded.
Please do.
We have the Newton County Board of Health, Miss Louise Adams, her reappointment. Newton County Planning Commission, Ernie Smith, District 1. Newton County Zoning Board of Appeals, Nick Hathorn, Chairman's appointment, and Newton County Zoning Board of Appeals, Mr. James Russell for District 4. And the next.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes,
please.
sir. The next item on the agenda, Mr. Vice Chair, is number 11. We have our presenter, Mr. Dwayne Mass, the Director of Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation Purchasing is requesting approval of RJB and Associates Contractors, Inc. Construction Services Agreement contract for Nelson Heights Pavilion Project number 23-05 to construct a 20-by-40 pavilion.
Thank you. Mr. Mass, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. So good evening, Mr. Vice Chair. Good evening, Commissioner. So yeah, just as Ms. LaTanya spoke, we're requesting tonight y'all's approval to be able to build the 20-by-40 pavilion at Nelson Heights Community.
Are there any questions? I have one question of Dwayne. Mr. Mass, we all call you Dwayne. Dwayne, question I have is what's the price of that pavilion? Or have we got, or just somebody give us a quote?
No, we bid it out, and this is pretty much what it come back as. And talked with Mr. Jeff Bryan, and he says that's kind of where we're at this day and time with prices. So
I agree.
And I'm with you. We built them for a lot less.
Yeah. So the people may be listening, or future listeners, or in the audience who still live here, what's the quote for that?
It's $143,362.
And so it's about the same size as the one that's right on the side of the building?
Right, so 20-by-40 on a slab. It does include electricity, ceiling fans, picnic tables, grill, and trash cans.
Are they, sir, this for Mr. Mayor. This is in District 4. I'd like to make a motion to approve as stated by Mr. Mayor. Okay. There's a motion by me, District 4 County Commission, and second by Commissioner Edwards. All in favor? All that's 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, we do have another presentation by Mr. Dwayne Mask, as well as Mr. Jeff Prine, the project manager. It's going to be number 12 for Parks and Recreation. Purchasing is requesting approval for Sunbelt Builders Design Build Contract for Stone Road Concession Building GMP Amendment number 2.
So I'm going to let Mr. Jeff take this one.
Mr. Jeff, would you please?
Good evening. This is our guaranteed maximum price for construction for the replacement of the Stone Road Concession Restroom Building. And so we've worked with Sunbelt Builders to put together the design and also with the department. We've also worked with them to get pricing. I've vetted the pricing, looked at all the breakdowns, and this is where we are. So we're asking you to approve the amendment to their contract in the amount of $644,707 for this new construction item.
Any questions from the board? From district, go ahead, Commissioner Sanders.
So just correction, this is a new building being built,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's a concession stand?
Concession and restroom building.
And I think Stone Road is in your district, Commissioner Cowell. I think.
I'll make a motion. Sorry, make a motion to approve the Stone Road concession and restrooms to be built by Sunbelt Builders.
Second, it has been motioned by Commissioner Cowell to be for approval and second by District 4 County Commissioner. Are there any discussion? All in favor? It passes unanimously.
And Mr. Vice Chair, we have number 13. Our presenter is still going to be Mr. Dwayne Mask.
You're not getting.
Oh, I apologize. We did move 13 to consent. Number 14, my apologies. This is Mr. Jeff Prine again. Senior Services and Purchasing is requesting approval for Sunbelt Builders Incorporated Design Build Contract for Senior Services, Phase 2, Amendment Number 1 for expansion of services. We do have Ms. Frida Reed, who is also here, Director of Senior Services.
Good evening again. So last spring, you guys appropriated additional funds for us to do the second phase, which will complete the build out at the Turner Lake facility. We got an RFP, selected Sunbelt Builders as our design builder. We've been working with them to vet the design, also to put together the pricing that you see for you tonight. I have gone through the bid prices with Sunbelt, vetted everything, good numbers in this economy, and so we're asking you to approve their amendment in the amount of $1,199,280 for that construction item.
Are there any questions? Thank you. I would like to make a motion. Since at present he's in District 4, I think. He's in District 4. I would like to make a motion to approve as stated by Mr. Jeff Prine.
Second.
It has been motioned by District 4 County Commissioner and second by District 2 County Commissioner. Are there any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0 unanimously.
Okay, Mr. Vice Chair, we're on number 16. Finance is requesting fiscal year 23 budget amendments for fire services, elections, tax assessors, and grants presented by Ms. Brittany White, our Finance Director.
Good evening. I'm going to start with 16A. Is that okay? Okay. 16A was the added budget amendment, and this is the one for the additional headquarters space. And we got our insurance premium tax on Friday, and that was actually, it came in $784,000 more than what we budgeted for. So we do verify with the state every year that we spend that insurance premium on fire services. So usually our fire services, or our insurance premium comes in roughly 5% higher every year, but this year it was 16% higher. I was really shocked by that number. So they would like to utilize that to purchase the building next to headquarters. And if there's any questions, Chief Connor's here to answer regarding the building next door. And this was a presentation that was originally included on the ARPA request.
So when this come in, we did remove it from the ARPA request to move it to general fund. So that's why our ARPA request is now 8.2 instead of the original 8.6.
Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Sanders.
I'm just trying to ask for clarity. So the funding is, you're amending the budget, and the funding is coming from their budget that was allocated from the FY23?
Yes, so this is the FY23 general fund budget, and it's the insurance premium tax. So that's the I think it's 2.5% tax that's put on insurance premiums.
Okay.
Are there more questions? All right.
So moved as stated by the county magistrate.
Second.
Yeah, I had a motion by Commissioner Edward and second by Commissioner Masons. Are there any more discussion? All in favor? It passes unanimously. 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move to number 16 now. So you should have 7 budget transfers in your agenda packet, and I have them numbered, so I'm just going to go in chronological order. So the first one is we do have compression issues in our fire department with pay since we did the $15 an hour increase. So this is to address the compression issues, which will require $39,500, and so HR is here if we have any questions on the compression issue, but basically what we're doing is we're moving it from contingency.
Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Sanders?
Okay. Just explain that again. I want to make sure this is correct. I just see some faces out there like, what? Just explain this in detail what we're doing here.
I'm going to let the HR director
Okay.
speak on that.
Hello, y'all. When we raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, then that caused compression issues, particularly in this department, with about 19 employees. So we're looking at firefighter EMTs as well as lieutenants. Those several individuals in those positions were making less or even close to what firefighters that had been working with us a lesser amount of time were making. And so HR staff met with those individuals in discovering the compression issues, and it was determined that in order to bring about internal equity, that we need to transfer funds. And so that's what the request is tonight for.
And Brittany, this is coming out of the contingency fund.
More question? I guess I have a question myself. Is this a like a one-time thing, or is it something that may reoccur every so often?
Well, currently, when we've been dealing with these issues, we've had a handful of compression in other departments, but because we've had salary savings in those departments, we were able to utilize salary savings to address those compression issues. The sheriff took care of his own compression issues. But in this particular department, because we had 19 different employees, there was not enough salary savings to address the compression issue. Hence, we're before the board tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Okay, a motion?
Second.
Has been motion by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Are there any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Budget, are we going to vote on them individually, or do we want to do like one mass vote? Because I have 7 budget amendments. So we could be here a long time.
Why don't you just go through all of them?
Okay. Okay, I'm good with that. Okay. The next one is the elections department had and I may butcher the name of this, leak retriever that holds the voter registration cards. and it malfunctioned. It's a 2000 version, so it's no longer supported for replacement parts. The replacement for the new equipment is $77,000. So in order to replace this, we will do a budget amendment from contingency to replace the malfunctioned equipment. Are there any questions on that one?
So the replace is 77,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any more discussion? Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry, please.
Okay. We good on that one. Angela Davis is here if we have any questions. Otherwise, okay.
I've got a question for you.
But I do have I have a question too as well, and I guess it's more so to the county manager. And we all know it's election time, and we know we use internal aid, which is good. But we're working on the restrooms, and there is a porta potty outside that they're directing everybody to. It's also the same potty party. If I pronounced that wrong. Thank you. Even the basketball players using everybody. So hit is something you go in is bad. And so if any way we could go over, you could send somebody over to help them, I guess to clean out or whatever, it sure would be nice. Because I know a few older people, when I was there, I know Monday, I didn't go there too much day. Monday just left and went home and may not have came back.
Yes,
and
sir. We will look into that. Thank you.
Okay. Number 3 is the budget amendment to move money from regular employees to professional services in the tax assessor department. They do have an employee who is retiring in January. They have been having a hard time filling that position. So what they want to do is they want to utilize the money from that position to hire a consultant to come in and do that position, which is the real property part of the tax digest. And let's see, basically what we'll do is we'll leave that position vacant. So there'll be a freeze on that until they can hire somebody, and if that's the case, then we would obviously terminate the consultant. Are there any questions on that one?
Just the amount.
Oh, sorry, $30,000. Okay, the remaining 4 or 3, I think, are all grant related. So the first one is just to recognize the revenues and the expenditures for a grant that ends 9/30/2022. And these are, I talked about these the last time, we just have to bring these to the board now since we added that clause into the budget resolution. And this is for one of the Sheriff's Jack grants. The next one is to also recognize the revenue and expenditures for a CJCC grant that was board approved on 6/7/2022. And then number 6 is for a grant that was also a CJCC grant that was also board approved on 6/7/2022, and this is just recognizing the revenues and expenditures on that grant.
Can you state the acronym so that residents know what CJCC?
Community. This was just criminal justice.
So this is all law enforcement?
Yes.
Oh, there we
It's criminal justice
coordinating council.
Oh, there we go. And the last one is also CJCC, and this one was also board approved, and this is just recognizing the revenues and expenditures on that one as well. And I believe that is the last one.
Thank you. Any questions? Anybody want to ask? You know, once again, I need a motion to approve all the amendments that she stated.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Evans and second by Commissioner Mason. Are there any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0.
Mr. Vice Chair, The next item that we have on the agenda is item number 17, presented by Interim County Manager, Mr. Jarvis Sims. ARPA Lost Revenue. Office of the County Manager is requesting BOC approval to use ARPA funds for county capital projects.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you.
So on 10/10, we had our department directors present to you all their request to use ARPA funding for various projects. In our books, you will see the second page on the breakout of the $8.2 million. Some of the funds are for public safety, some of the funds are for quality of life, and some of the funds are for addressing our infrastructure. As I stated earlier during our work session tonight, these requests are not necessarily wants, but these are critical needs for our organization. And we're requesting that the board here approve our requests so we can continue to move our organization forward and address our operational needs. Thank you.
Are there any questions to our county manager? Mr. Sanders.
My only concern is, so that list that was given to us, what was that, last week? So that's the whole entire list that we're approving, that's the 8.7?
8.2.
8.2 million. Because I did see some things that were not, I'm gonna be honest, that were not needed at the moment that could have gone to other things. So that's just my concern about the 8.2 million being allocated out of the ARPA funds just for that. Not saying they're not important. I'm not saying any department is more important and we don't have needs in the community, but I do agree that there needs to be some leniency because this is a lot. We only get 21.8 million. The second allocation is $10 million. So we're allocating 8.2 million to capital improvements, leaving 2-some million just for community. That's the issue that I have, because I mean, I'm here for the community, and I'm also here for our county, but I have to, that's my issue at this particular moment. And then I do believe that I don't know where we are with this grant writer, I have no idea. I know the budget, the salary was the issue, but we are leaving thousands of dollars on the table as a county. And it's not just you, Mr. Sims. I've been asking for a grant writer since 2021, and we budget for it, and it has not happened. And we're leaving so much money to that leaves commissioners to apply for their own grants. Because I know there was an issue with me applying for a grant. It leaves commissioners up to do it themselves because we don't have that in place. So that's just my concern on it.
Thank you. So to address your comments, Commissioner Sanders, we did look at the list again with some of the comments that we received that day. And as Director White stated, we initially had a request from our fire chief. We recognized that particular request, while it might be a great request, we wanted to utilize our funding in the most appropriate way. So we removed $600,000 from the initial request to make sure we had requests that were critical to address our operational needs here in the county. And the requests that we have before you all today are just that. In regard to your comment about the grant writer, you're correct. We've had that position posted, several positions posted, and that position has yielded very few applicants applying for it. We also, from my direction to our HR director, to see if we could even be creative about saying hybrid for the person to even maybe work remote. And we've still had limited people to apply. So we're still trying to get someone in here to get us some grants. But that is a need that we recognize that we're trying to fill right away.
So you said on the application process it does say hybrid? Because I know many people that live in other states that would do this.
So that's something she's looking at now to see if we can add that.
Are there any more questions? Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, we had a ARPA presentation earlier, and those funds for facilities were included in her report. But also all the other stuff was included in there. Do we want to amend the agenda to include all of that at this point so they can move forward? Well,
that would be you all's choice, but as far as expediting and moving processes, that would be at your will if the board decides that, to take in her recommendations. But what's before you all now is our recommendation of the request to use $8.2 million.
Right, but it's also included in that report, so if,
that's correct.
If we follow the recommendation of the consultant, then we need to adopt the recommendations that she's given. Is that correct?
Yes, that would help. But as far as the item before you all now is just our item, but if we wanted to just kind of have it all together, which makes sense to have the recommendations from the consultant to include our request, yes.
Okay, Patrick, can I amend the agenda at this point?
You can make a motion to amend the agenda, and if the board approves it, the agenda would be amended. I think there was a question over here before you do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I don't know if we are in a position to add the rest of it because in the discussion, we were going to move that $2 million excess that we had left over that we had not allocated, moving it over to the nonprofit bucket, and we haven't done that as of yet. So she has to send that to us. So I think once she sends us the new proposal, the new recommendations, then I think we'll be able to address that. But I don't know if we can address it until she goes back and sends to us what she's gonna, the monies that she's gonna move from the excess over to the nonprofit line item. Now I could be, Patrick, you tell me if I'm correct or incorrect. Can we still add that without her?
It's up to you, but I mean, what I'm hearing is there's still some doubt, confusion, concern about the balance of the ARPA funds, and maybe, you know exactly what you're getting with the internal distributions. It sounded to me like maybe y'all have some work to do with the rest of it. That's kind of how.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
It has been motioned and second.
No, there was no motion.
Okay. I'll let you entertain the motion this time. Got me confused.
There's been no motion.
Okay. So we're in a discussion. So
We need a motion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sir, also should mention that some of the requests from the commissioners were also included in $8.2 million. For example, $335,000 for Nelson Heights was included. $650,000 from the courts were included in the $8.2 million.
I'm glad Commissioner Mason said that, because when she stood here, there was a lot of the allocations that I had were not on the list. And she said out of that 2.9, the transportation for the youth, the mental health piece for the youth, she said that could be taken out of that 2.9 million because she didn't put that in place because she just assumed that it was going only towards the West Side Youth Facility. And she mentioned that. So those are the other things that were not included. So that's why we should not add that on there, because everything has not been solidified.
I understand. Well then, for the purposes of expediting the meeting, I'd like to make a motion to approve the $8.2 million for out of ARPA for the public facilities.
It has been motioned by Commissioner Cowell to approve the 8.2 for facilities. And it was seconded by Commissioner Edwards. Are there any more discussion?
17.
Yes. Yeah, so basically we're going with what's written.
Should we read item 17 again, please, ma'am?
Item number 17 is the ARPA lost revenue. The Office of the County Manager is requesting BOC approval to use ARPA funds for county capital projects. This is an eligible use under Treasury's final rule for revenue replacement, which can be used for government services that are traditionally provided by the government. Cost $8.2 million. Funding source ARPA, which is budgeted.
Commissioner Cowell, he made a motion to approve.
Yes.
It was seconded by Commissioner Edwards.
Yes.
Are there any more discussion? Commissioner Sanders.
Again, I'm just gonna reiterate, I mean, the board can vote however, I know how I'm voting. This is too much money to be going towards capital improvements. We're not a big, huge county. So we need to make sure that we're looking at this right, making sure we're not spending this money, as y'all want a big piece of not spending this money too quickly. And we need to look into matching our dollars so we can put more money in the pot to be able to expand it and do all the things that we do want to do. So I do agree this is not a good choice, but the board's gonna vote however the boards vote.
No, we made a motion.
We got a motion and a second.
Discussion made now. Yeah, discussion. Okay, I also want to add that, you know, we've been kind of going back and forth over the past few days, and we've had several meetings, and I'm probably the only one, but I'm kind of confused as to what we're really doing, and we made a lot of changes, and for me, J.C. Henderson, it doesn't seem to be kind of consistent as I would like for it to be. For an example, if I said that I was going to do something, or I said that I was going to make a certain motion or do something in the community, then to the best of my ability, that's what I'm going to do, you know. And let what somebody may think or not think, let it go that way. So just so on this particular motion, I'm gonna abstain on voting on this one myself personally. So, are there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? There's 2 in favor. All opposed? Yeah. Okay. The motion, it fails. So, Patrick, what's the next juncture? Is there anything?
You move on to the next agenda.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I didn't understand. I voted.
He ended up voting.
I had voted.
Mr. Vice Chair, the next item on the agenda is nearing the end. We are at alcohol beverage license number 20. This is the final reading, which requires a vote. Final reading, Bajrang Investors, LLC, DBA Crowell Road, Valero, 11280 Brownbridge Road, Covington, Georgia, 30016. Licensee A. Patel, District 3. Alpesh Kumar, if we need it on record, Patel.
Thank you. Commissioner, need a motion. I'm sorry.
I approve the final reading for Bajrang Investors LLC, DBA Crowell Road, Valero, 11280 Brownbridge Road, Covington, Georgia 316. Licensed by the name listed in District 3. I'm going to try to pronounce that.
It has been motioned by Commissioner Sanders to approve, second by Commissioner Edwards. Any more discussion? All in favor? Passes.
Item number 21, Mr. Vice Chair, is the final reading which requires a vote. Elite Convenience LLC, DBA Quick Spot Marathon, 10260 Highway 36, Covington, Georgia 30014, licensee Duval Desai, District 5.
I make a motion to approve Elite Convenience LLC, doing business as Quick Spot Marathon, licensee Duval Desai for alcohol beverage license.
It has been motioned by Commissioner 5 and second by Commissioner 1. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0.
Mr. Vice Chair, the last one is number 22. It's the first reading. Covington Ops 1 LLC, DBA Covington Food Mart, 5485 Highway 81, South Covington, Georgia 30016. Licensee Mustag Daradaya, which is District 1. And that's the first reading.
Make a motion. Anything else that we need to address before we adjourn?
No, sir. At this time, we're at item number 23, and we're at citizen comments.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. If there are any citizen comments, would you please come at this time? Three minutes, please.
Barbara Morgan, East Street, Covington, Georgia. It came to light yesterday that a member of this board had gone online to oppose passage of the SPLOST referendum. This was in direct conflict with the law that prohibits county officials from either promoting or opposing SPLOST. It is my understanding that this individual was called out and corrected via legal channels. The citizen appointees to the SPLOST committee can only hope little damage was done to the prospects for renewing SPLOST by the voters. For 36 years, SPLOST has been at work in this county. Any and every one who shops, stays, and spends money in Newton County helps to fund critical projects that could not be afforded in regular budget appropriations. Funds in the 2023 SPLOST to be collected over the next 6 years will be dedicated to public safety, infrastructure, transportation, debt service, and quality of life enhancements such as parks and trails. Its passage is essential. It is not a new tax, but only a continuation of a successful program begun decades ago. The SPLOST committee eagerly seeks voter support in early voting that began yesterday and through Election Day on November 8th.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Wendy Lowe. I live at 35 Highway Drive, Covington. I wanted to make a comment. When the consultant was speaking about the police with the mental health, I know that NAMI, they work with that to help with the police to get the training. And so I think that that you might want to consult NAMI and talk to them, because it's very important when someone has mental illness that you're not sending a cop out there that doesn't understand mental illness. They need to have, I believe it's called CID training, and I had gone to NAMI meetings and I know that they were working with the police about that. So I don't know how much it costs, but I think if you talk to the NAMI people, they would be a good reference for you and to give you some idea, like with the police that they've worked with and whatnot, how much it costs. So make sure you have a program, and I think that's really important. since especially we have a lot of mental illness due to COVID and even before. And my daughter did have mental illness, and she was 12, and a cop came out, and everything was done very professionally. I was really blessed, but not everybody has a positive experience like that. So that's why I was involved with NAMI and whatnot. So that kind of training is really, really critical to understand, so you're not shooting somebody who has mental health. You need to understand the difference and how to de-escalate the situation and to get help. So I think that's really important. And then the other thing is, I wasn't totally clear on that Salvation Army. If I understood what she said, it was like, leave it to the county to go back and recover the funds from Salvation Army. That, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be done. Do we have the means to do that? And are you taking away some of the power from the legal system and putting it on the county to get that money back? So I wasn't really clear about that. And also, I'm definitely against this $8.2 million. I'm glad that it didn't pass, because there's other money out there, and that's a lot of money, and that needs to be used for the county and for the citizens. And so I think we need to make sure that everything's been scrutinized. Let the citizens see that list of what the money's going to be used for, because once the money's gone, it's gone, and you can't just say, oops, my bad, we didn't spend it right. No, we need to look at it right now and be critical and go over every line item and have a town hall meeting and let the citizens look at all this, like the gentleman was saying earlier. Let us have some input in it and see and approve that we think that's good. And definitely the commissioners, I believe they should have their $1 million. They know what needs to be done, and when you start putting things in a pot, somehow things mysteriously end up, and the underserved people don't get it. So I have a problem if you take that away from those commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak.
Is there anyone else? We will start with the commissioners. We start with Commissioner Cowell.
Oh, everything.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes, sir, I do. First, I want to state that I'm excited that I am a Fair Fight Fellow. The Fair Fight organization selects 25 elected officials to be a part of their fellowship program. And I was selected as one of the elected officials. There's Board of Education members, there's mayors, commissioners, and all various elected officials, and I'm one of the 25. And so we go through a 6-month process of senior leadership as being elected officials, and I'm just excited about that. And we were chosen based on our fight in the community and how we deal with legislation. So I'm excited about that. So thank you, Fair Fight, for choosing me as one of your fellows. January 2021 was the first time that I sought out about the West Side Youth Facility and how it was going to be put in place. During that time, and many of you have seen on my social media, my official social media page, which is Commissioner Elena Sanders with the check mark, on my Facebook page, to where I post the actual information of the project from our county manager, previous county manager, and previous county attorney, confirming that it's the District 3 project. I provided all of that evidence, and I sent that out, and you read it in detail. And so that happened in January 2021. Throughout January and throughout 2021, I had multiple meetings I was called into on how this was going to be put about, and I was provided with information. In the beginning of 2022, I was called into meetings with our project manager saying, Commissioner Sanders, we suggested be here in District 3 in various things. So June 2021, land was actually found to where we could put it in District 3. So a town hall meeting was also held with District 3 constituents, and I have the list of those who actually attended, and they were all District 3 except one person that attended. July 2022, the commissioners gave the county manager authority to go out and pay for an appraisal of the land in District 3, okay? So September 2022, our county manager came back with the appraisal, and the commissioners gave the approval to move forward with an offer. That all happened just recently. So in the meeting last week, it was a shocker to me because the meeting was supposed to be looking at the actual land that was provided to us from our project manager, and said to myself and the county manager and the Parks and Rec director what they found in District 3. I was bamboozled. to see that there was land for District 2 and 4. This is not going against any commissioner that's up here. I'm telling you the facts. Everybody can go back and see the meeting. So to say this project, when every commissioner on this board spent their $495,000 in their district, and you're coming and telling District 3 they have to spend it somewhere else or in another district, that's not being fair. Not only that, I applied for a grant with our congressman, which I was told to apply for. Every commissioner received that email from our county clerk. You can go back and look. She sent that email and said every commissioner on here to apply for that grant. I took the initiative and applied because I know we didn't have a grant writer. I applied for that grant. I was granted $4 million based on the statistics of District 3 and our density of not having parks and rec and recreation. And I was granted that, and it was put in the newspaper, and our congressman also posted on his page congratulating District 3 Commissioner Sanders for your $4 million grant for the West Side Youth Facility, which matches with our splash dollars. So now we're coming back to try to take a project that's supposed to go in District 3 to where we possibly could lose a grant for $4 million, because that grant, you cannot change a grant once it's awarded for a specific project in a certain area, because I had to submit the statistics. Not only that, the residents in the area, along with that grant process, all wrote letters to our congressman, and that's how we got the grant. So I just want you to know, Commissioner, you all have your projects, and right now, tonight, I was looking, we just voted for another project to where a district has 2 projects going on in regards to parks and recreation. Can District 3 just get a swing on a tree? Can we get something in our area where we constantly keep blocking stuff in an area to where I live in that part of that town? I hear the gunshots. I hear those various things happen. So we can smile, we can learn, we can do whatever we want. But also remember, this is a community you're thinking about. It's not a laughing matter. It's a matter that has to think about the people in this district. God bless you.
I have no comment.
I just want to say this, and I guess I've been watching too many talk shows, the winners and losers, and the winners are the voters of Newton County, who my understanding is there was a record number of voters that we knew came out to Turner Lake and voted, even though they had to go back. Because I know my wife personally, she went and they told her, you come back, they said it might be slow down by Thursday. And she said, no, I'm going back in 3 hours. And because the computer was down, and she went back and she voted for another friend. So the winners are the people who said that we're not going to be turned around, that we're going to vote. And they are the winners. The losers are the ones who went out to use the restroom. Those are the losers. And, I think we can and we will do better, in a county facility that we're spending so much money on, and at least have decent porta potty for the women's and men's. More women's need a decent porta potty to use. And so if there are no more comments, we adjourn. I'm ready to go. No motion. Okay, make a motion. All in favor? All right, we go. Thank you.